Hello students, if you have been to any old building, you might have seen the beams made up of timber, and you might have seen wooden floors, and all of you must have seen the wooden furnitures. So these are made up of wood. It is a very important construction material. So in today's lecture video, we shall discuss about timber. I am Soumya Sahu, lecturer in Civil Engineering at SKDV Government Polytechnic, Rourkela. And this video lecture is prepared for the third semester Diploma Civil Engineering students. In today's lecture video, we shall cover up the definition of timber, classification of timber, structure of timber, seasoning of timber, and the qualities of good timber. What is timber? Timber is the wood used for building or any other engineering purposes. Classification of timber. So, depending upon the mode of growth, timber is classified into two categories. One is exogenous and another one is endogenous tree. So the exogenous trees grow outward, and these are also categorized into two types. First one is coniferous tree and second one is deciduous tree. And in case of endogenous trees, the growth is inward. In case of exogenous trees, the growth is outward, and the trees grow outward by adding distinct consecutive rings every year. These rings are known as annual rings. Hence, it is possible to find the age of the timber by counting these annual rings. This question has been asked in many competitive examinations, that how can you find out the age of timber? So the correct answer is by counting the annual rings, we can find out the age of timber. And these exogenous trees are further classified into coniferous tree and deciduous tree. So coniferous trees are having cone-shaped leaves and fruits, and the leaves do not fall till new ones are grown. They yield softwood. Some of the examples of softwood are cheer, fir, koel. The next one is deciduous tree. So deciduous trees are having broad leaves. These leaves fall in autumn and new ones appear in spring. They yield strong wood and hence they are commonly used in building construction. And some of the examples of deciduous trees are babol, mahogany, sal, oak. The classification of softwood and hardwood have commercial importance. Endogenous trees are those trees whose growth is inwards. So fresh fibrous mass is in the innermost portion, and the most common examples of endogenous trees are bamboo and cane, and these trees are not useful for structural works. So what are the distinctions between softwood and hardwood? In softwood, the annual rings are seen distinctly, whereas in hardwood, they are indistinct. The color of softwood is light, whereas the color of hardwood is dark. The softwoods have lesser strength in compression and shear as compared to hardwood. Softwoods are light and hardwoods are heavy. Fire resistance of softwood is poor as compared to the hardwood. The structure of softwood is resinous, whilst the structure of hardwood is coarse-grained. Next, we shall discuss about the structure of timber. Students, I have shared a slide showing the cross-section of exogenous tree. This is the innermost part of timber and this is known as pith. The layers surrounding the pith is known as heartwood, and the layer surrounding the heartwood is known as sapwood. The radial lines extending from cambium layer to the pith are known as the medullary rays, and this is known as the cambium layer. It contains the sap which is yet to be converted into sapwood. This is the inner bark, and it acts as a protective layer, and it protects the cambium layer, and this is known as the outer bark. From your exam point of view, this diagram is very important. So pith is the innermost part of the tree and hence the oldest part of exogenous tree. When the plant becomes old, the pith dies and becomes fibrous and dark. It varies size and shape. Heartwood, this is the portion surrounding pith. It is dark in color and strong. This portion is useful for various engineering purposes. This is the dead part of wood and it consists of several annular rings. Sapwood, it is the layer next to heartwood. It denotes recent growth and contains sap. It takes active part in the growth of trees by allowing sap to move in upward direction. The annual rings of sapwood are less sharply divided and are light in color. The sapwood is also known as alburnum. Cambium layer, it is a thin layer of fresh sap lying between the sapwood and the inner bark. It contains sap which is not yet converted into sapwood. If the bark is removed and the cambium layer is exposed to atmosphere, cells cease to be active and tree dies. Inner bark, it is a inner skin of tree protecting the cambium layer. Outer bark is the outer skin of tree and it consists of wood fibers. Sometimes it contains fissures and cracks. Medullary rays extend from pith to the cambium layer. They hold the annual rings. In some trees, they are broken and some other they may not be prominent. Then next we shall discuss about seasoning. So seasoning is the controlled drying out of timber. Why timber is seasoned? In order to allow drying process to be controlled, it helps to prevent splits in the wood. It protects the dry timber from the attack of fungi. It prevents the dry wood from shrinkage, and dry wood is easier to work with. It makes the timber lighter, harder and stronger. So there are two methods of seasoning. One is natural seasoning, another one is artificial seasoning. Natural seasoning, when seasoning of timber is carried out by natural air, it is called natural seasoning or air seasoning. The procedure adopted for air seasoning. So the timber is cut and sawn into suitable sections of planks or scantlings. The place where stack is to be constructed is cleared and leveled for good drainage. The timber pieces can either be stacked horizontally or vertically. The base platform of the stack may be kept 30 cm above the ground level. The timber pieces are sorted out according to their sizes. They are stacked in layers one above the other. The layers are separated by dry pieces of wood of thickness 25 mm to 35 mm. These spacers may be kept at 450 mm to 600 mm. The stack is protected from rain, sunlight and heavy wind. This is a slide showing the natural seasoning of timber. So the advantages of natural seasoning are the moisture content of wood can be brought down to about 10 to 20% and it does not require any skilled supervision. For thicker sections, artificial seasoning is uneconomical, whereas the natural seasoning can be adopted, and this method is cheap and simple. Disadvantages of natural seasoning are there is less control over air, the drying of different surfaces may not be uniform, the chance of attack of fungi and insects during the seasoning are very prominent. Next one is artificial seasoning. To make the drying more uniform and even by controlled conditions, artificial seasoning is adopted. It reduces the time for seasoning. Shrinkage, cracking, ramping are minimized. The wood with desired moisture content may be obtained by artificial seasoning. There are various methods of artificial seasoning and these are water seasoning, boiling, electrical seasoning and clean seasoning. In case of water seasoning, to remove the sapwood, the logs of wood are immersed in water and preferably in running water of stream, and river from 2 to 4 weeks. Then it is dried under open air. Wrapping and cracking are avoided, but the timber become brittle and their strength has also reduced. Electrical seasoning. It is an established fact that a green timber offers less resistance to the flow of electric current as compared to a dry timber. So it is done by passing high frequency of AC current through the timber and the timber gets heated and dries out. This method results in uniform seasoning of wood, but the capital cost of equipment needed is more. It is very rapid method and this method is used in the manufacture of plywood. Chemical seasoning. In this method, green timber is soaked in saturated solution of suitable salt and then removed and seasoned. The interior moisture is drawn out by the saturated salt solution and the interior part dries before the outer part. So there are less chances of external cracks. Boiling. In this method, the timber is boiled in water for about 3 to 4 hours. It is then taken out and slowly dried. Even though the period of seasoning is less, it is an expensive method. Timber may be exposed to hot stream also. Clean seasoning is also a type of artificial seasoning. So the timber is arranged inside the chamber such that the spaces are left for free air circulation. Humid and heated air of temperature about 35 degrees Celsius to 38 degrees Celsius is then forced inside a chamber by suitable arrangement. It is allowed to circulate around the timber pieces. Evaporation from the surface of timber pieces is prevented because of high humidity of air. The heat gradually reaches inside the timber pieces. The relative humidity is now gradually reduced. The temperature is then increased and maintained till desired degree of moisture content is obtained. These are the advantages of seasoning. So handling and transportation cost of wood can be reduced. Seasoned timber shows good resistance to decay. The timber should be seasoned before the application of paint, varnish and preservatives. The ease of workability of timber, dimensional stability of furnished product can be maintained. It improves the engineering properties of wood. Lastly, we are going to discuss about the qualities of good timber. Good timber should have the following qualities. First one is hardness. A good quality timber should be hard enough to resist the deterioration. Strength. It should have sufficient strength to resist heavy structural loads. Toughness. It should have enough toughness to resist shocks due to vibration. It should not break in bending and should resist splitting. Timbers having narrow annual rings are generally the strongest. Next quality is elasticity. The timber should have the property of elasticity so as to regain its original shape after removal of loads. This is a very important property to be considered if the timber is used in making sport goods. Next quality is durability. The timber should be able to resist attacks of fungi and worms and also atmospheric effects for a longer period of time. Next one is defects. Timber should be prepared from the heart of a sound tree and it should be free from sap, dead knots, stakes and other similar defects. Next quality is fibers and structure. The timber should have straight and closed fibers and compact medullary rays. It should give a clear ringing sound when struck. Dull, heavy sound is an indication of internal decay. Its annual ring should be uniform in shape and size. Next quality is the appearance and color. Freshly cut surface should give sweet smell and present shining surface. It should have dark color as light colored timbers are generally weak in strength. Shape and weight. It should retain its shape during the process of seasoning. Heavy timbers are always stronger than lightweight timbers. Workability. The timber should be well seasoned and easily workable. Teeth of saw should not get clogged during the process of sawing and it should provide smoothened surface easily. With this we have covered this chapter. So thank you students. If you have got any doubts, you can ask me in the official WhatsApp group.